Okay, so I don't know if you've heard or not, but there were two children walking home from the park just a couple of blocks away from their home. Halfway there, a neighbor called the police. The police came and picked up the children, brought them home, and the police threatened the dad, saying you can't let children walk home by themselves. Okay, so then the police left, and they called CPS, and CPS came and said, you better sign this, that we came here and you will be put under surveillance. We will be watching you for 5 years. Here's a deal. Here's why this story matters. The same exact thing happened before. Children walking home from school or the park or whatever that is very close. CPS takes the children for quote unquote neglect, which is what these people were charged with, not by the police, but by CPS, for quote-unquote free-range children. The CPS took the children in the previous case, and the children ended up in a big, huge sex traffic ring. That's CPS, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, and this wasn't just some isolated incident. It happens all the time. The children that CPS takes from the neglectful parents or the awful parents end up molested, abused, and murdered. Yes, indeedly doodly. I have never heard of a good instance. And I went to law school, took family law for at least 2 semesters, which I hated. I don't know why I did that. I hate family law. That's all you read about, is those cases of abuse to children. That's all the cases are, right? There's no family law case where, people are just getting the divorce. Divorce easy. They simply say, oh, people get divorced. Anyway, let's go on to the case about the child who was hung in a closet by his parents. Something terrible like that. I hated family law. But this is exactly what I read in family law about cases where the CPS takes the children to protect them, and they end up in sex trafficking rings, molested. And black children are more molested than anybody else. Anybody else. Why? Because black people are not seen as human. So you can do anything to black people and black children, right? That's just a fact. I'm not stating some sort of conjecture or opinion or trying to be sensational. That's just a fact. The psychology of this nation is that black people are not human. You have to justify it in your mind that if you're molesting a child, and we're not talking about people who have a history of child molestation, we're talking about people who decided that they wanted to be foster parents, get black children, and because of the psychosis of this white supremacist society, justify in their mind that they can do anything to a black child because black people are not human. I am basing this on a psychological profile with what has been ingrained in the United States society. I talked about a lot of actors being fed up, actors, singers, what have you, during the 50s and 60s, being really fed up with the racism that they had to face on a daily basis, and moving to Paris, where they were treated with dignity like a human, denounced their American citizenship and moved to Paris, France, and lived there for the rest of their life. Michael Jackson was doing that, and then until he came back, because they convinced him to come back. And then, of course, they murdered him. But it is this society. And for those people who say, it's not like that, shut up. If it's not like that for you in particular, that's the only thing you can say. I don't feel that way. And that's the only thing you can say. You cannot say, in the face of this overwhelming evidence of child molestation and the foster care system and child protective services, that other people don't feel that way. You can only speak for you. But at 60% molestation of black children in the foster care industry, there is a psychosis and a psychology that goes with it. It cannot be that they molest the black child and don't molest the white child, and there not be a psychological profile that goes along with it. Because a true molester says something like 12 years old, 9 years old. That's what a molester, a true molester says. Blonde hair, pink dress. And it doesn't matter, blue, green, polka dot, whatever. If they're wearing a pink dress, he's going for it, or she's going for it. And I said she because the overwhelming majority of molesters, child molesters, are women. Another fact that the feminist movement tries to hide. I think child protective services should be disbanded. And the only people that should be dealing with anything of any hurt that comes to a child should be a police officer and a judge. Period. We didn't have child protective services before. What did we do for all of those hundreds of years? What did we do? What? What's the answer? All right, we figured something out. The child was given to the grandparents or somebody else, or a distant aunt, distant relative, or they went to an actual orphanage. Oh, but we don't have an orphanage anymore. Why? Because the U.S. government decided that private orphanages should not be. Why do we have orphanages? Because people died before. They don't die as much as they did before. But anyway, I've never heard anything good about CPS. Never. And they have a national union just like everybody else has a national union. And it's very rare that you have any of them going on trial. The picture I show of the CPS worker is a CPS worker on trial there. That's who that is. Thank you for watching the Shikama Live Show.